Her son kicked her out, but she washeting $1.4 million. The morning air was cool, but not enough to soothe the burning in her chest. Evelyn Thomas, 82 years old, stood outside the small wooden house she'd called home for nearly 3 decades. The same home where she had raised her only son, the same place where she had once sung lullabies and nursed fevers and lit candles when the electricity failed. Now that home stood behind her like a stranger, cold, unwelcoming. The front door slammed shut. Evelyn clutched the handles of her 2 old suitcases, worn, frayed, and nearly splitting at the seams. Inside were all her earthly belongings, a faded Bible, her late husband's photo, a handmade quilt, and a small leather pouch stitched shut. She didn't cry, not at first. But when she turned her head one last time and saw her son, Calvin, standing in the doorway with folded arms and his wife Lena, glaring from behind him, something inside her broke. "You'll be all right," Lena snapped. "You've lived long enough without us doing everything for you." Calvin didn't say a word. His silence was louder than any scream. Evelyn blinked back tears. "Son, this is your mother." Her voice trembled. "I carried you when I had nothing but rice to eat. I worked myself to the bone. Mama, please." Calvin cut in, voice flat. "You can't live here anymore. You don't do anything but sit around. Lena and I need space. The kids need their own rooms." She gasped, softly. "You're putting me out for your children's playroom." Lena rolled her eyes. "It's not personal. It's just time." Evelyn nodded slowly as if accepting a sentence. She adjusted her scarf, wiped her eyes, and took her first step down the front porch alone. The road stretched for miles, cracked and dusty. Her legs ached, her back throbbed. With each step, the weight of her suitcase pulled her closer to the ground, but her pride wouldn't let her collapse. Not yet. Drivers passed by, but no one stopped. Just another old woman walking with nowhere to go. The time she reached the edge of town, her body finally gave in. She collapsed on a bus bench, her hands trembling, vision spinning. A young woman at the nearby pharmacy rushed to her side. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Evelyn looked up with a weak smile. "I think I've been forgotten, child." Back at the house, Calvin paced the kitchen. The kids were laughing in the other room already. Measuring the walls for video game posters. Lena poured herself coffee. "She'll be fine," she said. "She has a pension, right? She'll land somewhere." Calvin nodded, but something in his chest twisted. He glanced at the chair his mother used to sit in, the one she rocked in every morning, humming gospel under her breath while folding laundry. Now it was empty and silent. That night, Evelyn lay in a small cot at a women's shelter. The staff were kind. They gave her soup and a warm blanket, but her heart stayed cold. In the quiet, she opened one of her suitcases and reached for the small leather pouch at the bottom. With trembling fingers, she pulled it open. Inside were 4 folded papers, bank statements from a rural trust, and one hand-signed letter from 1992. "To Mrs. Evelyn Thomas, in gratitude for your years of care and loyalty, and as per my late husband's instructions, we leave you full rights to the following accounts and property investments. Use it when you need it most. Signed, Mr. and Mrs. Whitmore." Evelyn stared at the figures on the statements. 412 out of now 857. She had never touched a cent. She had worked odd jobs 4 years, cleaned schools, peeled potatoes in the back of a cafeteria, and sold by candlelight just to provide for her son. Never once had she boasted. Never once had she explained. Because she had loved him enough to give him her back, her sweat, and even her silence. She had saved that fortune for one thing, his future, college, a home, a business. She dreamed of handing it to him when he was ready. But now she had been thrown away like a burden. And suddenly Thessalon's wasn't strength. It was power. At sunrise, she stood outside the bank, the same one that had protected her legacy for decades. The manager, a kind man in his 40s, greeted her with warmth. Mrs. Thomas, we always wondered when you'd come in again. She smiled gently. I think it's time. Word spread faster than Evelyn ever imagined. It began as a local news segment, a soft story, about a elderly woman who collapsed outside a pharmacy, only for it to be discovered that she was a millionaire. Quiet, humble, and kind. Within 48 hours, it went viral. News anchors called her the forgotten millionaire. Social media called her a saint, but it was what Evelyn said during the interview that shook the world. Sitting in a neatly pressed dress on a morning talk show, her voice calm, she said, I was kicked out of my home by the son I raised alone. I gave him everything, my health, my time, my youth. But when I was no longer convenient, he discarded me. The interviewer leaned in. And what will you do with your 1.44 million now, Mrs. Thomas? She smiled. Give it to those who know what it means to have nothing and still choose kindness. Meanwhile, Calvin watched the television in horror, his jaw clenched. Lena stood frozen beside him. The host continued, You said your son doesn't deserve a cent. Do you stand by that? Evelyn nodded without hesitation. He made his choice. He made a mean. By afternoon, Calvin's phone was flooded. Friends, co-workers, neighbors, everyone had seen the story. The comments were brutal. How could you do that to your mother? You kicked out a woman with $1 million heart. You should be ashamed. His employer, embarrassed by the public fallout, placed him on unpaid leave. His kids cried when classmates mocked them at school. Even Lena's parents stopped answering her calls. Evelyn, meanwhile, had moved into a small but elegant assisted living home, not out of luxury, but peace, a cozy room, a reading nook, and a view of the garden. And she didn't waste time. Within a week, she had donated $200,000 to a local shelter for elderly women, $150,000 to fund scholarships for single mothers, and $500,000 to build a community center in the same town that once passed her by without stopping. When asked if she felt vengeful, Evelyn simply said, No, I feel free. A few weeks later, Calvin showed up at the front gate of her new residence. He looked thinner, paler, desperate. The receptionist asked Evelyn if she wanted to see him. She paused, then nodded. He entered the garden quietly, where Evelyn sat in the sun, knitting a baby blanket, not for any grandchild, but for a shelter newborn she had just met. Calvin knelt beside her. Mama, I made a mistake. She didn't look up. You made a decision. Tears filled his eyes. Please, I lost everything, my job, my friends, my dignity. I was stupid. I didn't see what I had. She finally looked at him, not with anger, but with something worse. Disappointment. I gave you love. And when I needed just a little bit of it back, you chose convenience. You chose pride. You chose her. He sobbed. Please, I'll do anything. I don't want your money. I just want you. She looked down at her yarn, paused. Love without respect is a debt I can't carry anymore. He reached for her hand. She pulled it gently away. I forgive you, Calvin, but I won't return to a place where I wasn't welcome. She stood up slowly. You showed me my worth by how quickly you tossed me aside. Now I live with people who don't need to be reminded to value me. He cried openly. She placed the knitted blanket in his arms. When your heart knows how to carry the weight of this, she said, you'll be ready to carry a mother again. And she walked away. That was the last time Calvin ever saw her. Years later, the community center bore her name, the Evelyn Grace Foundation. Underneath the plaque were 4 words etched in gold: love, loyalty, dignity, choice, choice. And in the hearts of thousands, she wasn't just a woman with money. She was a symbol that sometimes karma doesn't knock. It walks away with grace. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.